used Phantom Force!
Oh.
It goes into another dimension to protect itself for a while, and then comes out for a big attack!
I love that! Hey guys, my name's Dan, and this reaction comes from the channel Lockstin and Gnoggin. This is Paradox Pokemon Battle Royale Explained, featuring Terminal Montage, and I can't wait to check this out, because Terminal Montage's version of this was pretty great, and I want to learn more about this, if this is exactly what we're going to be doing here, and sort of just see the other side of it, because Gnoggin was featured on Terminal Montage's video, so I can't wait to see what exactly we get to learn here today. But before we do, though, please do check all those links I have for you down in the description below. More specifically, Lockstin and Gnoggin. It's a great way to support them, and a great and easy way to support me is to go right below this video, click all those buttons down there, because not to let you see future reactions that I do, but also helps my channel to grow. And without any further ado, let's go.
Past is already gone, lost, and the future doesn't exist. All we can truly do is embrace the gift that is now. That is why it is called the present. That's what I'd say if I wanted to sound profound. But hey, if we got all of the Paradox Pokemon into one enclosed space, say Blueberry Academy, and then had them fight Battle Royale style, who would last the longest? Who would be the most likely to win? And why? Well, I helped write the Paradox Pokemon Battle Royale over on the Terminal Montage channel, and in this video, I'm going to explain some of what happened in said battle, and then explain why the winners are who they are. So kick back, grab a snack, and watch it again, with me. I love the SpongeBob transition. So remember, while Area 0 is the center of Paradox and terrestrialization shenanigans, the core up in Blueberry Academy is made of the same crystal dirt stuff from there. That's why you can still terrestrialize there. We took a creative liberty and had the time machine malfunction so bad, it sent the caught Paradox Pokemon here. All in Master Balls because that's what they're all in. So Violet's future Paradox Pokemon are all various types of robots, droids, androids, cyborgs, xenobots, autonomous vehicles, etc. More details in our video explaining all of their lore here, but we had fun with this referentially and made the adorable and tiny Iron Moth a turret from Portal, as Iron Moth is able to move its feet forward. That was pretty good. Also, it's tiny. Iron Bundle, who honestly is already pretty comic reliefy thanks to its whole concept, mannerisms, and animations, is a Star Wars battle droid. Iron Treads is an old
Star Wars battle droid, love it.
Or maybe that vacuum from Teletubbies. Iron Jugulis is seen hiding in a cave and looking out, making it appear as a silhouette, and thus with its two puppet-looking hands references the Mystery Science Theater 3000 trio, which has
I knew it! That's what that was called! I couldn't remember! Oh man, that's awesome though!
But they are commentating on the pre-Cambrian era fight that they are seeing, as Fluttermane and Roaring Moon are both past Paradox Pokemon from millions upon millions of years ago. But now here comes Iron Thorns, who's just a Mecha Kaiju, a Mecha Godzilla, a Mecha Bemular. Jugulus insults Thorns, so Thorns destroys Jugulus, but not before Jugulus launches its puppety handheads at Thorns' face, which it is known to do. Automated combat. Koraidon and Great Tusk land with a large thud, and Koraidon lets out a dinosaur roar. You'll notice in this fight, none of the past paradoxes speak, while the futures do plenty. I mean, even Caveman didn't speak the same way that we think of speech these days. Brute Bonnet, Unga Bunga's about, and is the battle's first fatality. The competitive and aggressive Koraidon saw its stupid face as an easy target, though Bonnet explodes into poisonous spores and toxic powder. Not the smartest move, Koraidon. It essentially just hurt itself, which is pretty in line with what it does. So did Brute Bonnet deserve the first fatality? Maybe. Someone had to be.
Definitely doing it. Definitely did his fair share of research here. I love it.
So the second slowest Paradox Pokemon that's also very rarely used in the meta and has very few type or lore advantages over the other Paradoxes? Yeah. Raging Bolt pops out of the water, as that's where it likes to hang, and when Sandy Shocks gets out, they don't immediately fight. They have a sparky electric-type connection, and Sandy Shocks happily hops into the water with Raging Bolt, not realizing how deep it is. Volt's neck is long. The two Volcarona paradoxes are fighting. The fighting-type Slitherwing is particularly combative, while Iron Moth, the extraterrestrial observational satellite, tries to avoid combat all it can. Its tiny body, less than a third the size of Slitherwing's makes dodging Slitherwing's punches and kicks easy, and it can shoot back from afar. Eventually, Slitherwing uses its wings to double jump and slam down into the ground to release numerous spores into the air, obscuring Iron Moth's vision.
Are you still there?
And allowing Slither to get a good kick in, sending Moth straight into the terrarium's glass dome. Uh-oh. So Roaring Moon and Fluttermane are fighting. Roaring Moon is extremely aggressive and violent, being essentially an ancient Mega Salamence, while Fluttermane is a small and tricky ghost, vanishing to avoid Moon's attacks. Soon, Fluttermane fades away completely and hides behind Iron Thorns, who's currently eating the remains of Jugulis, causing Moon to attack and destroy Thorns to get to Fluttermane. But Thorns' ripped out thorns explode in Moon's hands. Bonus fun fact, some military are already in research and development for military robots that feed on other robots.
Oh my god!
To recharge and repair themselves.
Okay, well, ETR runes on fuel. It is currently unable to consume bodies, as that would go against the Geneva Convention's rules against desecrating bodies. Yeah, that makes sense.
On the field. The future is fun.
And totally.
So a lot of dinosaur media is in documentary format, right? So we have a few lines from David Attenborough's Prehistoric Planet series narrating over Screamtail. Though while the lines after the first one are all from Prehistoric Planet initially,
the actual voice in the battle is me, doing my best impression and putting the recording through a plethora of filters.
It's a pretty good impression.
A headcanon-y theory, there are some suggestions that Iron Leaves is the steed of Iron Valiant, though not a very good one. Compared to the other future paradoxes, they both move very animatronically stiff. But based on the Violet book and Pokédex, Iron Valiant is a cruel robot built by a mad scientist who cuts down others without hesitation.
Oh my god.
Made it observe its surroundings like the Terminator, which is doubly fitting as it's chasing Screamtail down and thus referencing this older meme format. Now caught, Screamtail's tiny little limbs can't help defend itself, but it can scream Agretsuko style. It's a puffy Majin Buu.
Yeah, it
this
is.
Causes Iron Valiant sensors to go haywire and eventually be defeated. The sound waves make the terrarium glass crack even more. But Iron Hands is fun, right? A cyborg sumo wrestler with floating hands. It tries to use those hands to stop Great Tusk from charging at it, but in being electric hands and Tusk being ground type, Tusk doesn't care. Iron Hands flees and passes through several walls, which it's prone to do, apparently. But Tusk is quite weak to ice attacks, so it freezes solid when hit by Iron Bundle's blaster. Cue a caveman YouTube poop I hope people understand.
Oh my god.
And more mouthing off. Just off screen, Slitherwing approaches, seeing Great Tusk as a fun next opponent. So Great Tusk begins to thaw out. While not fire type itself, Slitherwing is a paradox form of a particularly hot fire type, Volcarona, and Slitherwing can learn many fire type moves. It's even so hot that it can burn others and damage itself in the process. It can barely manage its own body heat. But before they can really fight, both get turned into roadkill by the bikers, Koraidon and Miraidon, who have been racing. Sandy Shocks has long, ridiculous, stretchy legs, which it uses to finally escape from the water. And in being a hair metal band reference, it screams quiorically while magnetically pulling in everything around it, including the screws and bolts from the terrarium's dome, as well as the Violet Paradox Pokemon. Only those fast enough, like Iron Bundle, or heavy enough, like Iron Boulder, can escape. Iron Leaves activates its lightsaber leaf blades and destroys Sandy Shocks before it's too late.
Initiating growling sound effects.
Good old text-to-speech programs before AI. Iron Hands, being part fighting type, has no chance against the psychic type Iron Swords trio, so flees and runs into the proto-legendary beasts and holds out its hands like that one Jurassic World scene, but it lacks a third hand to stay safe. The Helldiver's automaton march is heard emanating from the Iron Swords, who, in essentially being the opposite of the original Swords of Justice, which stand for liberty and justice for all democracy Americana stuff, makes this very fitting as they kind of stand opposed to all that. Now this for sure was a great visual liberty that maybe the anime will do when it gets to them. They transform like Transformers and combine like many a Voltron or Power Rangers mecha and become the mysterious Paradox Pokemon seen in the Violet book. which merges all three of them.
That's so cool.
But two can play at that game. The Proto-Beasts decide to give it a try too, and with a magical girly evolution effect they achieve nothing. Actually, they can't actually do that, they are biological, but they can dream. The Iron Swords charge at the Proto Trio, Gouging Fire prepares its shield, so the swords change their target to Walking Wake, defeating it and Raging Bolt, and more of the terrarium's dome. Meanwhile, Koraidon and Roaring Moon get into a tussle. Moon takes a punch and then uses Frenzied Gouging, knocking Koraidon and itself out in the process. And the terrarium dome also. It begins to flood. Shrapnel from the dome lands on the swords, separating and defeating them and causing Iron Crown's check engine light to come on. And poor Gouging Fire cannot swim, but Walking Wake can run on water and perhaps even perfectly float when fainted. It's just a silly joke. So we reach the final four and the ultimate showdown.
Oh,
Miraidon,
snap.
Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, and Screamtail. I love this fight. We got Iron Bundle mouthing off the whole time while dodging lightning as the fastest one here. Fluttermane tries to spook Screamtail, which backfires because he's screaming, which then messes with Miraidon and Bundle's sensors, causing more misses and more bad mouthing.
As it would,
Bundle rockets up but accidentally runs into the invisible Fluttermane, then using its extendable neck, plays whack-a-mole with Miraidon, while Screamtail is avoiding Shadow Balls from Fluttermane. Screamtail then disables Fluttermane's Shadow Ball and encores it. A hilarious and terrible situation to be in. Miraidon gets pelted with snow, dodges, and then punches Iron Bundle like a rock'em sock'em robot and zaps it, sending electricity all the way up its neck and attacking all three of its opponents at once. And now, the big final attack. Everyone all at once prepares a move. Thankfully, Fluttermane's encore has ended. The attacks all come out, and... Wait, where's Fluttermane? Oh, it used Phantom Force! Oh, it goes into another dimension to protect itself for a while, and then comes out for a big attack!
I love that!
Saved from the three other attacks and finished off the gang in the end! What a sneaky little trickster! So now comes the
love the energy put into that entire bit. That was awesome.
Big why with all this. As always, it's not easy. Even though you could mathematically say these stats, types, and moves make X Pokemon the strongest of the bunch, that doesn't take into account their personalities and demeanors, which has a huge impact. It also doesn't take into account a battle royale setting, or stats and things working differently in a non-turn-based system.
That's
but as always, we don't just look at the games, but the card game, the anime, and even manga. But in this case, Terminal and I have now caught up with these battle royales. There is not really much to go off of with these Pokemon. The anime hasn't really reached them, and they barely have cards, and there's only been one championship with them too. What's also tricky is we often look at how the Pokemon stand in the competitive metagame, which we still did here for sure, absolutely, but in limiting the battle to the Paradox Pokemon, it's difficult, because there are so few of them. And when looking at their standing in the meta, it's always them versus all the other Pokemon, not just them versus other paradoxes. For instance, Fluttermane is super good in the metagame, which does contribute to why we showed it winning here. It was also one of the only 2 Paradox Pokemon used by the top 8 VGC quarterfinalists and above.
Oh, wow!
Used in 6 out of the 8 teams.
That's
but
awesome!
One of the big reasons it's so good in the video game meta is because it's particularly good against other Pokemon common in the meta. So how does it do against other Paradox Pokemon specifically? Well, okay, I suppose. There's less data on that, though Smogon does specify it's particularly good against Miraidon and Koraidon. Those poor sandwich-loving dragons gotta fight this ghost fairy. That is an extremely good type combination. Quote, Fluttermane is one of the most threatening wall breakers in Ubers thanks to its incredibly powerful stab combination, near unrivaled speed that is boosted further under sun, good coverage options, and great defensive typing.
This guy's a badass,
and on top of the meta, it's very trickstery in nature, mischievous, and being able to fly, go invisible, and float through walls, and being relatively small, it has a lot of inherent advantages advantages over the others here. And then in the trading card game, its ability just straight up removes its opponent's ability.
Wow!
Like, what? How sneaky and powerful.
That is
It's
very
no wonder
sneaky.
that in the games it is uber tier, the highest, aside from those so stupidly good they're just blanket banned. And it's in this tier that we also find Miraidon and Iron Bundle. Koraidon too, but its perceived alpha cocky attitude most fighting types have, along with other disadvantages, leads it to not being in our final four. I mean, dragon fighting, that is Fluttermane's dream opponent. Not to mention, Koraidon's main damaging move in the meta, Flare Blitz, damages itself. Fine for one-on-one fights, but not very good for long-term survival in a battle royale situation. Plus, compared to Koraidon, Miraidon has a lot more fan favor outside the meta. Being an actual bike and all, it's no wonder it's in Pokemon Unite now too. Plus, its electric typing would particularly help it against the other future paradoxes, being able to short-circuit them when looking at it from an anime or real battle lore perspective. But then, why did Miraidon not win? Well, in the meta, it's super good because of its particularly high speed and access to U-turn.
Wow, yeah, 135.
But Iron Bundle is faster, and U-turn is useless in a free-for-all Royale setting. But speaking of Bundle, it's Ice-Water type, the Ice being super effective against Miraidon's Dragon, though Miraidon's Electric is good against Bundle's Water. But Bundle is faster, and depending on the builds, Bundle is known to one-hit KO Miraidon and Koraidon
Really?
and more. Plus, in our chosen environment,
That's amazing.
the Blueberry Academy that floods, its typing gives it an advantage here too.
Whoa, I'm floating.
Plus, consider the rule of cool, or in its case, I guess the gilly of silly. Iron Bundle is very much the silliest Paradox Pokemon, giving it some comedic relief defensive options. It survives
I like that.
because it's funnier if it does that. But that all said, why is Screamtail in the top 4? Screamtail is NU to PU tier in the meta, never used or piddlingly used, aka perfectly useless, aka PU
Damn!
stinky. It's not particularly noteworthy in the metagame at all.
Oh.
For everything it does, there are other Pokemon who do
Stealth
it better,
Rock.
so nobody uses it in competitive teams. But it's here because of the context outside the games. Jigglypuff is already a particularly beefy poof due to lots of Smash Bros and anime shenanigans, and Screamtail is even tougher. It's a billion-year-old squishy tank, and it's loud. Acoustic weapons are really just powerful speakers that send insanely loud and or high/low frequency sounds to take down drones and computer systems. So in lore, Screamtail has the perfect counter to half of the combatants in the Battle Royale.
Oh, wow, would you look at
boosting its
that.
survivability greatly. Specifically, a resonant sound at 140 decibels, which it can more than do, messes with gyroscopes, which would cause any drone or robot that uses them, which is most if not
Yeah,
all, to
sure
suddenly
would.
become confused about which way is up, causing confusion and dizziness and missitude. That is a huge boon for our punk balloon.
Yeah, that would make sense why he would be in the top 4.
But Iron Hands now. Iron Hands is that other Paradox used on the top 8 teams I mentioned, used by 5 of the top 8 champions, so why didn't it make it into the top 4? Well, its cards aren't particularly noteworthy. Amp you very much? Really? That's not even a pun. In the video
No, it's
games,
not.
Hands is a tank and a strong physical wall breaker. Literally. It's very fitting of a sumo wrestler. It's good in the games because it happens to work as a good counter to other non-paradoxes. But in a battle of speedy finalists, it really hurts to be the slowest paradox.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in a more anime-esque Royale setting, where being fast, small, or high in the air means you can dodge. Hands is none of these things. So what about the Proto-Beasts and Iron Swords? Well, while their stat totals are significantly higher than the other paradoxes, there's not much going for them, actually. None are particularly meta, and aside from a few being kinda big and heavy, none have things that help them much against the others. They are all slow compared to the final 4, are either a dragon type, which is a disadvantage here, or are psychic type, which is a bit of a disadvantage here. But also, those 3 are robots, which against Screamtail and Miraidon is a big disadvantage. So I think all in all, while you could argue any of these 4 could have won, which is why we decided to have the final climactic battle be between the 4 of them, I think I can stand by the idea that Fluttermane would win ultimately, especially because it can just hide You know, it's a really, really good killer. It's
Yeah, and the fact that how he explained it, it makes make sense for me, so I definitely agree.
weak in its defenses, but in this particular setting, its defenses are going invisible or hiding in another dimension. So yeah, I'm confident in saying Fluttermane would win a battle royale.
Agreed.
With these three, and maybe the rest of them on this list, having a decent chance too. But hey, what was your favorite moment in the battle? Let me know down below, and if you want to know all of the deep lore about all of the Paradox Pokemon, we already covered all of that in a series of videos. They are linked here now. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more deep lore Pokemon knowledge, facts, stuff, and never stop using your noggin.
Okay, so, as I stated in the terminal montage version of this video, I don't really have a big knowledge of Pokemon, let alone Paradox Pokemon. So that was a lot of fun learning more and more about these Pokemon, and he explained it such a way where it actually made a lot of sense to a novice like me. And I love like the beginning animation style. Looks like he literally looks like he's watching the video on his computer, which is fun, and showing off all the cards and doing all this research. It made it so easy for me to follow, so easy for me to comprehend, and he's also has a great sense of humor as well, so it made this that much more entertaining. It makes me want to learn more about Paradox Pokemon, and maybe, just maybe, I will. But that will do it for me here. Comment down below, let me know what did you think about Paradox Pokemon Battle Royale Explained. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Please check all those links I have for you down in the description below. Then lastly, and most importantly, I want to give a huge shout out to all my $5 and over supporters on Patreon: Cruising, Wolver 310, GBN, Kester Cronus, Joseph McSweeney, Amber K, Raymond Bright, Joshi, Chris Curtis, Haley Machinardi, Ann Perry, Larka, Vatsacophony, Morgan Page, Misa2, Lily the Snoopy Fan, Lauren, Allison the Aesthetic Girl, Fleet Street Viscount, Emily the Flower Lover, Steffi, Travis Knopf, Sophie the Sunset Girl, Sarah Long, Summer the Dog Lover, Scott, Misa3, Andrew of the Voo, Arrow Hamster, and Kay. And if you too like to have a shout out at the end of each and every one of my videos, please head on over to patreon.com/TheDanReactor for more. And I'll see you guys next time.